How's it going, everybody? It's Warren, and welcome back to my channel, The Cosmic Wonder, where we talk about all things Marvel and everything relating to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And today we seemingly have some pretty big news about a Marvel villain that is going to be making his way to the MCU very soon. And this villain isn't just going to be appearing in one film. It sounds like this villain is going to be the person responsible for pulling many different strings inside of the MCU, and could even be behind some other villains that we'll see as early on as Phase 4. And the villain that we're talking about is MODOK. MODOK has been rumored to be entering the MCU before, specifically in Ant-Man 3, but now we have further evidence that Marvel Studios does in fact have some plans to use MODOK. And it seems like Marvel Studios has probably been setting up MODOK to appear in the MCU since the very beginning of the MCU with Iron Man 3. And then we could see him pop up in the current MCU as early on as Black Widow. And I'll break down everything you need to know in this video, but first, if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news. And so you can enter this week's giveaway for a chance to win a Mysterio Funko Pop. All you gotta do is subscribe, like the video, and comment down below to enter. So recently we got the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. grand finale. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was an awesome TV series, and it's sad that it came to an end, but it was a good ride. And now, of course, that it's over, directors, writers, producers, they're all doing interviews about the show. And recently, the AV Club interviewed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. executive producers Jed Whedon and Jeffrey Bell, where they were asked whether they were ever stopped from doing anything in the series. And Jed Whedon had quite a particular reveal to talk about, in a case where Marvel seemingly wanted to keep a character for themselves to be able to use elsewhere. And here's what Jed Whedon said about one particular character that Marvel Studios seemingly kept for themselves. He said, "We had a lot of ideas where we were, and I'll say this, I don't care, we were given the green light originally to use certain characters from Marvel and started to break story based on those character, coughs, MODOK, and then they retracted it. So there were a bunch of things that were going to get a little crazy that were above our pay grade in terms of the toys we were allowed to play with. So MODOK was originally supposed to be in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Marvel gave Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. permission to use MODOK, but then they took it back. They said, you can use him, and then they said, no you can't. And there's really only one reason they would say that they can't use this character. And that is because they have plans for it. And since they have plans for it, they didn't want Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to use it because, as we recently discovered, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did not really exist in the MCU. Different timelines, different universes, so to speak. So it seems like Marvel Studios has plans to use MODOK in the MCU, and they didn't want MODOK used in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they didn't want any confusion about the universes. So if Marvel Studios wasn't going to use MODOK in the MCU, there would be no problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. using it in their series. And it sounds like in the beginning, Marvel Studios didn't have plans for MODOK in the MCU, but all of a sudden, they did. Now, this is pretty coincidental considering the fact that there have been a lot of MODOK and Ant-Man 3 rumors going around. And not to mention, we have recently discovered that Paul Rudd, Ant-Man himself, has written a script for Ant-Man 3 that had MODOK in it. Now, as it stands right now, Jeff Loveness is writing Ant-Man 3. But according to The Geeks Worldwide, he wasn't the first writer. Sources say that Paul Rudd wrote a draft of the script that featured MODOK and his organization AIM as the primary antagonists. Now, if you're not aware, Paul Rudd has screenplay credits on the first film and a writing credit on the second film. So Paul Rudd is involved with the writing and the screenplay. Now, we don't know what exactly Paul Rudd wrote in his script, although we do know one thing. There was a mysterious benefactor in Ant-Man and the Wasp that Sony Birch was working for. Now, they never did reveal who this was, but we know Marvel, they never mention anything by mistake. They mention things and plant Easter eggs in movies way in advance, and they use these to set up future plot points. So it's widely believed that this mysterious benefactor is going to show himself in Ant-Man 3. And recently, the Geeks Worldwide reported that there has been a casting call for Ant-Man 3 for the mysterious benefactor. Originally, they heard that it could be Norman Osborn, but now they have heard that it's going to be MODOK. And if this is true, then MODOK is that mysterious benefactor that Sony Birch was working for in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And that also means that AIM is going to be a primary antagonist of the movie as well. So it does seem like some of Paul Rudd's script is going to be happening in Ant-Man 3, and there are a lot of connections already in the MCU to AIM. We were actually introduced to AIM in Iron Man 3. In fact, they were pretty much the main antagonists of the film. But they are not gone. In fact, it's already been confirmed that they're going to be in the first movie of Phase 4. Black Widow. In the trailer for Black Widow, in one particular scene where Yelena Belova is on an operating table, we can see next to her that it says AIM, meaning that the organization is still around. And not only are they still around, but it seems like they're actually pretty involved with the events of Black Widow and probably other future events in the MCU as well if MODOK is popping up in Ant-Man 3. But there are actually even more connections than just Black Widow. For starters, we know that Thunderbolt Ross is going to be in Black Widow. It's long been confirmed and now he's in the trailers, of course. And it's pretty much all but confirmed that he's doing some pretty shady stuff right now. He already rebooted the Weapon X program in Incredible Hulk, and now in Black Widow he's working with some super soldier serum again. And of course, let's not forget that he is probably organizing the Thunderbolts as we speak. But the question is, are the Thunderbolts his project or is somebody else pulling the strings? Because you see, in the comics, MODOK is actually responsible for the creation of Red Hulk. And of course, it is Thunderbolt Ross who ends up becoming Red Hulk. So there are a lot of connections here with AIM. All the way back in Iron Man 3, in Black Widow, not to mention Thunderbolt Ross and Black Widow, and now it seems like it's pretty much all but confirmed that MODOK is the mysterious benefactor from Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it looks like AIM and MODOK are turning out to be bigger villains than we thought they were going to be just showing up in Ant-Man 3. As it turns out, MODOK could be pulling the strings in several different areas of the MCU that we'll find out soon in Phase 4, Phase 5, and beyond. So as far as Ant-Man 3 is concerned, it does seem like we have discovered the villain. And MODOK is actually kind of a fitting villain for Ant-Man 3. MODOK is pretty intense. It's actually an acronym that stands for Mental Organism Designed Only for Killing. But the Ant-Man films are comedy films. Of course, they're superhero films, but they're really funny films. And if we're being honest, MODOK looks kind of funny, and they could definitely poke fun at that in Ant-Man 3.
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes?
In the comics, MODOK undergoes substantial mutagenic medical experimentation originally designed to increase his intelligence. And although the experiment was a success, he became very intelligent. It resulted in him having a freakishly overdeveloped head. His head is so big compared to his body that he actually needs a flying chair to move around. So although he is intense, this would be the perfect opportunity for Ant-Man and Louise to make fun of him. So it seems like we have our villain, and it seems like a really, really good fit. But let me know what you think about this. How would you feel if MODOK was the villain of Ant-Man 3? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comment section, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest MCU news. For live updates, you can follow me on Twitter, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.